What if there was an ancient blueprint for abundance? And I don't just mean for wealth, but for grace, beauty, and real inner harmony. Well, today, we're diving into exactly that. It's called the Sri Suktam, and it's this incredibly powerful Vedic hymn to the goddess Lakshmi that promises all of it.
So here's where we're headed. We'll start with what this hymn is all about, but then we're going to hit a really curious contradiction, a puzzle that's kind of hidden right in the verses and seems to make no sense. Figuring that out will lead us into the science behind chanting, and then finally to a completely different way of thinking about what wealth really is.
All right, so what is the Sri Suktam? At its core, it's a prayer. It comes from the Rig Veda, one of the oldest scriptures in the world, but it's so much more than just asking for stuff. It's really this deep invocation for a complete, holistic sense of well-being.
The hymn is all for the goddess Lakshmi, who in this tradition really embodies abundance in its absolute fullest sense. And again, this isn't just about cash, It's about prosperity, sure, but also divine beauty, grace, and this kind of inner radiance. The idea is that the chant itself is designed to help you attract these very qualities into your own life.
And the way it talks about her, the language is just beautiful. Verses like this one, they paint such a vivid picture of this radiant cosmic light, of golden complexion. The point isn't just to ask for things, it's to actually invoke this specific, beautiful energy.
Okay, but here's where it gets really fascinating. Because hidden inside this beautiful hymn of praise, there's a verse that seems to ask for the exact opposite of what you'd want. It's this contradiction that's been a puzzle for a long, long time.
So, to get what's going on, you need to know about two concepts. First, you have Lakshmi, who is all about fortune and abundance. Then you have her opposite, Alalakshmi, misfortune, poverty, all the bad stuff. Now, the hymn obviously wants to get rid of Alalakshmi. But, and this is the crazy part, when it's chanted the traditional way, it sounds an awful lot like you're asking for Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune herself, to be destroyed.
So that's the big question, right? It's a total paradox. Why would these ancient sages, who were masters of language and spirituality, write a hymn for prosperity that tells you to say something that sounds like the complete opposite? It doesn't seem to make any sense. Well, the answer reveals this core principle of Vedic science, and it's a mind-bender. The idea is that the energetic quality of the sound is actually more important than the literal dictionary meaning of the words. It's a philosophy where vibration basically trumps vocabulary.
So the first clue to solving this is something called chandas, which is the poetic meter. Every single Vedic verse has a super strict rhythm, almost like the beat of a song. And this particular verse, it absolutely must have exactly 11 syllables per line. No more, no less. That rule is set in stone.
So how do you make the words fit the beat? Well, there's this really clever phonetic rule called avagraha. To keep that perfect 11-syllable count, the first A from the word alakshmi gets dropped when you say it. It's literally the same thing we do in English when we say don't instead of do not, just to make it flow better. And if you look at the written Sanskrit, there's actually a special symbol that looks kind of like an apostrophe to mark this dropped letter. It's a little note to the reader that says, hey, the meaning here is to destroy misfortune, but we're prioritizing the sound to preserve that sacred rhythm. In this world, the vibration is everything.
And just like that, the puzzle is solved. It all comes down to this Vedic concept of Shabda Brahman, or cosmic sound. The hymn isn't just a list of requests you're making, no, it's a vibrational formula. The specific sound energy created by that rhythm is what actually creates the effect. The meter is the magic.
So if the chant is a vibrational formula, then what kind of abundance is it actually trying to create? This gets us to the really deep philosophy of Shri, which is another name for Lakshmi. And as you're about to see, we're talking about way more than just money.
The kind of abundance this hymn is calling forth is, well, it's the driving force of the entire universe. The scriptures talk about Shri as Shakti, the cosmic energy behind all of creation. She's the life force, the spark of intellect in every living thing, the purity of the lotus, the strength of the elephant. In fact, her name, Shri, actually means refuge, which makes her the ultimate sanctuary.
Now, I know this all might sound like really ancient, abstract philosophy, but check this out. It has a surprisingly modern echo. Turns out, Neuroscience is actually giving us some incredible insights into what physically happens in our brains when we do something like chanting.
Studies are showing that the rhythmic vibrations from chanting can have a really powerful physical effect on the body. They can actually shift your brain waves out of that busy, chattering state into more relaxed, meditative states like alpha and theta. And as your brain shifts, your heart rate slows, your breathing regulates, and your body actually produces less of the stress hormone cortisol. But here's the part that's really wild. There's a specific frequency that shows up during chanting, 40 hertz. And this is not just any old brainwave. 40 hertz gamma activity is linked to those moments of deep insight, peak performance, and intense focus, what athletes call being in the zone. It suggests that these ancient hymns might actually be a kind of technology for tuning the brain to a higher level of consciousness.
So when you put it all together, you've got the poetic language, the precise science of vibration, the measurable effects on the brain. It all becomes really clear. The Sri Suktam is guiding us toward a totally different and, frankly, a much bigger definition of wealth.
The Sri Suktam basically encourages us to see divine richness everywhere. As this quote explains, true wealth is the intellect in your mind. It's the light in the sun. So, abundance isn't something you go out and get. It's a state of awareness you practice. It's about recognizing that divine spark that's already in everything and creating this incredible harmony between your inner world and the outer world.
And so, this ancient hymn leaves us with a very modern and very personal question. If true abundance isn't just what you have in the bank, but what you can perceive all around you, what does a genuinely rich life look like to you? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.